Hello, I'm Dr. Martin Baxmann. If you find yourself constantly checking in on your team, correcting their work, and feeling like you have to have your hands in everything, you're not really leading, you're micromanaging. The key to getting your practice to run on autopilot is mastering the art of delegation. So that's what we're going to dive into today, the 6 levels of delegation that will completely transform your team into a self-sufficient powerhouse. Does this phrase hit a little too close to home? So many practice owners fall right into this trap. We tell ourselves that it's just about being efficient, but honestly, this mindset is one of the biggest roadblocks to your practice's growth. Sure, it might feel productive in that one moment, but what you're really doing is putting a hard ceiling on your own potential and, more importantly, the potential of your entire practice. Let's just call it what it is. The I'll do it myself mindset, it isn't really about speed or quality. It's actually a form of procrastination. You see, you're avoiding the real, essential work of a leader, which is building systems, sharing your knowledge, and truly empowering your team to succeed without you. And that avoidance, well, that's the root cause of micromanagement. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the micromanagement trap head on. Then we'll walk through all 6 levels of delegation, starting with a basic foundation and building up to developing true leaders. And finally, we'll wrap up with how you can strategically apply this entire framework to your own team. Think of micromanagement as a bottleneck. It chokes the entire workflow of your practice. When every single decision, big or small, has to funnel directly through you, everything just grinds to a halt. The solution here isn't to work harder. It's to have a crystal clear delegation framework so that every single person on your team understands their exact level of responsibility and autonomy. So before we really dive into the levels, I want you to take a moment and think about your own practice. As we go through this framework, I want you to consider where each of your team members currently sits. This kind of self-assessment is really the critical first step toward intentional, strategic team development. Okay, let's start at the very beginning with the foundation. Levels 1 and 2 are all about establishing those clear, repeatable processes and building that initial layer of trust. This groundwork is absolutely essential. You just can't skip it. At level 1, it's pretty straightforward. The employee is simply executing tasks based on your very detailed instructions. Your job is to provide a perfect, unambiguous structure. Now, at level 2, you outline a topic, and the employee develops the action steps for you to approve. This is their first real step into critical thinking. They start to understand the how. A key pitfall here, though, is leaving a capable person at this level for too long. It really stifles their growth. All right, this next section, this is where the magic really starts to happen. Levels 3 and 4, well, they represent this critical turning point where your team members stop just executing tasks and start actively solving problems. This is the true path to autonomy. Now, look at the shift in initiative on this slide. It's a big one. At level 3, the employee comes to you and proposes a solution to a problem. They are thinking, not just doing. Your role is simply to evaluate their proposal. But at level 4, everything flips. They make the decision first, and then they report back to you. They take the action, and then they say, here's the situation, here's what I decided to do, what's your feedback? You see, the whole goal of level 4 is to build what I call administrative judgment. Let's use an example. Imagine a team member orders supplies without talking to you first. Instead of just saying yes or no, you explain your entire thought process. You talk about budgeting, inventory cycles, why you choose certain suppliers. This kind of feedback aligns their thinking with yours. So the next time, they can make that same decision completely independently, but with your standards and your context already built in. And all of this brings us to the ultimate goal, levels 5 and 6. This is where your team members stop being just employees and become true leaders within your practice. They start operating as extensions of your own leadership. Level 5. This represents total, complete independence. The way to think about it is that you are developing middle management right within the walls of your own practice. At this stage, your team members are making critical decisions without needing any feedback from you at all, because they've completely internalized your standards. I've seen this happen firsthand, where a talented dental assistant grows into a full-blown quality management officer who I could trust completely, blindly, to run their entire department. And that brings us to the absolute gold standard, the pinnacle for any self-managing practice, level 6. This is where your leaders become multipliers. See, a level 5 team member acts independently, which is great, but a level 6 leader trains and delegates. They take other people and guide them through the first 5 levels. They don't just lead, they build more leaders. When you have level 6 people on your team, your practice truly begins to run itself, freeing you up from the day-to-day grind entirely. So now that we understand the framework, we have to talk about your role in actually applying it, because this isn't some mechanical check-the-box process. It requires real empathy, strategic thinking, and frankly, some sophisticated talent management. Your job as the leader is to recognize that not every employee wants or even is capable of reaching level 6, and that is perfectly okay. You have to identify who has that drive and then mentor them toward the top. At the same time, you need your level 6 leaders to effectively manage those valuable team members who are perfectly happy and effective at levels 1 or 2. The key for you is to let go of that direct control, provide constant constructive feedback, and maybe most importantly, you have to truly trust your team to grow. When you implement this framework, your practice will start to run like clockwork. It frees you up to focus on what you and only you do best. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. Who on your team right now is ready for the next level? And what is the very first step you're going to take to help them get there?